Hey there, it's Elisa, but of course you can call me Ellie if it's easier for you because it goes with the whole channel name and everything. I put all sorts of things in my planners, checklists, schedules, and yeah, even memory keeping. So today I figured we'd do some memory keeping for an event that I went to last summer called Inkcarceration. Okay, a little context, I guess, before we get started. I know what it sounds like. I promise I was not incarcerated. I did not go to prison, although it was held at an old prison, I guess. The event is actually called Inkcarceration, which is actually kind of a nerdy play on words, all things considered. Metalheads don't get enough credit for being just a bunch of nerds sometimes. But the name comes from the fact that it's held at an old state prison reformatory, the old Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. And it's also a tattoo festival. So Inkcarceration. It was held July 19th through the 21st. This is actually my 5th time going. The first time was in 2019 where I saw Godsmack and Shinedown for the first time. And Godsmack and Shinedown actually were two of the headliners last year, which was kind of like a full circle moment for me. As much as I love Inkcarceration and it holds a special place in my heart, won't be going every year like I had been. Every year it gets more and more crowded and it's so hot. So in 2024, I went into it knowing that I don't know when the next time will be that I come back. So it definitely felt a little bit different, like I was closing a chapter or something. But okay, what was it like while I was there? Friday was actually the day that I was least looking forward to. There were the fewest number of bands that I really wanted to see that day. I got there a little bit later in the day, right when the crowd was starting to pick up. I walked in while Holy Wars was playing. They were at a stage that was a little bit closer to the entrance. I wanted to be able to see like Moss to Flames that were at the other side of the event grounds, but it took so long to get all the way back there. It was so crowded, and there's a little bit of a bottleneck trying to get to the back half of the grounds. So by the time I got there, I had to immediately turn around and go back to one of the other stages. Bad Wolves was playing at the main stage, which is back up kind of towards the front. After I saw them, there was a little bit more time for me to kind of like roam around and get the lay of the land. I did grab a few drinks throughout the day, and at this particular event, you could load up your wristband to use as kind of like a credit card, essentially. I was having a hard time going through when I was trying to use my wristband, and the people working there said that that was actually happening to a lot of people. So I was worried that something happened to my card, like for security purposes, and the people there were like, you might want to check with your bank, but it's probably fine. It's happening to everybody. We're hearing about some kind of issue with like Microsoft and their processing. So yeah, that ended up being the day that the whole CrowdStrike update crash thing happened. But like we had no idea that that was happening like while we were there, so that was interesting. But after kind of meandering a little bit, I did go back to that like front stage, the redemption stage, and saw Mushroom Head. So I just kind of like hung out in the back, had my drink. They played the 2 songs that I do know. Then it was time to walk all the way back again. There was a lot of walking this day, but at the backstage or the infirmary stage, I watched Veil of Maya back there a little bit. And then the rest of the day, I did get to rest a bit. Everything else that I saw was at the main stage. So as a creature of habit, I hung out in like my usual spot that I sit in like every year, which is in the back left corner, like on the back of the little hill. And there's like food and stuff back there. And I just sit there, hang out, grab some drinks, grab some snacks. It's a good time. I had some really delicious dumplings. Oh, those were so good. And then some random kid sat with me for a little bit. He was like 24 or something, and he said that this was his first rock music festival. His friends just like dropped him off, and he was just like chilling out by himself. So random guy, I can't remember your name, but hey, if you're seeing this. But I watched Chimera and then Chevelle, who is always great. And then The Offspring. It was just like a good energy, a good vibe. The main headliner for the day was Breaking Benjamin, who I had just seen a few months earlier at Sonic Temple in Columbus, and I had seen them at Inkcarceration before. And like, I like Breaking Benjamin, but I don't love Breaking Benjamin, so I didn't feel the need to stay for the whole thing. So I stuck around for Evil Angel. And then I left early. Plus, with the way that the location is, it is a long walk back to your car, and so I wanted to get a pretty good head start on that. It's just such a long, miserable walk because I'm old now. I was almost 30 for goodness sakes. But there was this little girl who like tapped me on the leg, and she told me that I had really pretty hair and really pretty makeup, so that made my day. Saturday was a long and exhausting day. I think part of the problem was that my main goal was to see the 2 bands at the end of the day. So most of the day it was just like waiting, and so I was just like sweaty and impatient all day. But it was Hailstorm and Godsmack at the end of the day. Like say what you will about my taste in music, but those are like 2 of my favorite bands ever, so I was real excited. I've seen them both before, but like, come on, they're the best. So my caffeinated liquid IV was like my best friend that day. Not sponsored or anything, but like that stuff, game changer. Hero of the day. Another thing that actually helped that day was right when I got there, there was like a little cold brew stand right near the entrance where I got the most delicious salted caramel cold brew I've ever encountered. The boost of caffeine that I needed to start the day. So that was incredible. I brought that to the main stage where I watched El Nino for a little bit, which was like an interesting vibe. I don't know if there's a right and a wrong beverage to drink while watching El Nino, but salted caramel cold brew just seems like a weird choice, but it was a good time. I enjoyed myself. After El Nino, Seven Dust started playing at the main stage, and it was about 3 p.m. at this point, so it was hot. As per usual, I was kind of hanging out in the back of the crowd. After Seven Dust, I did have quite a bit of time to kill before Hailstorm came on, so I figured that was a good time to mosey around for like snacks and merch and stuff like that again. I did end up getting this shirt. Whenever I go to Inkcarceration specifically, I try to get something that has artwork that like goes with the venue, you know? You can get a t-shirt with skulls and guitars and stuff on it, like at any concert. But how many times do you get to go to a concert like at a prison? I think this picture is actually from Inkcarceration from one of the years. But after I got my shirt, I noticed that the line for the Reformatory tour was relatively short. I did the tour the first time that I went to Inkcarceration in when did I say my first one was? 2019? And then once or twice after that, but the line ends up getting so long. So I hadn't been in there for a while, but the line was short. So I'm like, hey, might as well. I have some time. I don't know when my next opportunity is going to be to go back in here again. And it ended up being just like a 15-minute wait. Tops. It was really nice to go through there again. It's a really cool building. It's definitely spooky in some parts, so I can definitely see why they use that building for a haunted house during Halloween time. And then throughout the year, they have like paranormal tours, which would be terrifying. And then it's fun to see some of the like movie memorabilia and stuff in there. I did end up chatting with one of the historical tour staff, and he was telling me it's actually the 30th anniversary of the tours, so that was cool. Everyone had like a little 30th logo thing on their badge, and I was like, oh, that's really fun. I'm kind of here celebrating my 30th birthday, so woo, 30. And I guess the tours started because of the Shawshank Redemption movie. He said that the building was actually going to be torn down, and then they decided that they were going to film the movie there. And so they renovated some of the areas to film. And then while they did that, they're like, well, now that we're renovating parts of it, might as well just keep it around. And now it's like thriving, still going strong. So it's really cool that they include the self-guided tours as part of the Inkcarceration event ticket. I still ended up with plenty of time before Hailstorm started, so I grabbed a seltzer and some island noodles, which is a must. I'm not going to go to Inkcarceration without getting some island noodles at some point. And then I went back to like my little spot there, although I did have a hard time finding a place to sit, even just for like one person. It's getting so crowded. I don't know if it's just more people are interested now or they're selling more tickets, but it's getting bad. There's too many people. I did end up finding a spot though, so I was able to catch a little bit of Hollywood Undead and then I Prevail. The sun was starting to go down at this point, so it was starting to cool off a little bit, which was much appreciated. Something that I almost totally forgot to mention, I actually spent some time watching the Tattoo Awards towards the end of the day. It's held at the smaller stage towards the back of the fest, where they just give awards for certain types of tattoos that are done throughout the day. There usually aren't too many people back there at that point of the day, so it really just ends up being the people who are participating in the tattoo awards. So it's a nice little sensory break back there since there aren't as many crowds and the sun is starting to go down and it's kind of a little bit more shaded back there. And then it was time for Hailstorm. I had seen them once before at Inkcarceration, but I had actually gotten a tattoo that year on my foot. And so I was as far back away from the stage as I could be that year because I was so scared that if I got too far into the crowds that people would be like stepping on my foot with my fresh new tattoo. So this year I was a few rows back, but it was plenty close for me and it was incredible. Like Lizzie Hale is just one of the most incredible performers that there is in the genre, or just in music in general, probably. And it was incredible to watch her live. Even though her mic cut out in one of like the worst times that it could cut out, she was just like belting this solo and it was so sad, but they finally got it working and it was just so good. I met a really fun couple there who said that they're like concert wife and concert husband. I can assume that I know what that means. So one thing that was really cool about having both Hailstorm and I Prevail there on the same day, I Prevail did their song Can You See Me in the Dark, which they featured Lizzie Hale on that track. And so she actually was able to come out and perform with them when they did their set. And then later when Hailstorm went on, they actually did that song as well. And then I think at least one person from I Prevail came out and did that song with her. So it was really cool to see how the two different bands handled the different performances for the same song. And then it was time for Godsmack. It was my third time seeing them, but I mean, they're great. They are truly one of my favorite bands to see live. Just overall, an awesome, awesome time. I was really close to getting stuck in a mosh pit, which was a little nerve-wracking because I'm not into that. Just too much physical effort. So I had to like scoot out of the way, but it ended up being fine. There was some guy that got like a little close for comfort for me though in the crowd. He seemed a little belligerent, so I genuinely think that he thought that I was somebody else for a second there. So luckily I was able to like physically push him away and like distance myself and everything was fine. But it was definitely a good reminder. Safety is always a #1 priority at a concert, especially since I go alone. But even when I'm not, I think it's just good practice. I am always like hyper aware of my surroundings when I'm at a concert. Always know your exits, always have an eye on safety personnel, and always have a plan of what can I grab or how can I move if something goes wrong. I really wasn't there for much of Sunday, although that wasn't necessarily my intention. I had left something at home, which I didn't realize until I was like almost all the way there. So I had to like turn around and come back. And then I ended up not really getting there until like 3:30 or something, which was kind of a bummer. Luckily, there weren't any bands that I really wanted to see earlier on in the day, so I didn't miss much, but I still would have liked to have gotten there a little bit earlier. Getting there so late did mean that most of the parking lot was pretty filled up, which meant that leaving was really great at the end of the day, but I did have to walk pretty far to get to like the actual like stages. So you're like walking through weeds for like however long, because this isn't like a legitimate parking lot. They're just parking people wherever they can fit. I also did end up getting stopped by security. It was a stupid mistake. So I had like a little baggie of ibuprofen that I had been bringing with me in the car just in case I had like a headache or something. But I had put it in my pocket and forgot to take it out. And a little Ziploc baggie of loose pills is not a good look for walking into a concert. So I had to talk to security. I was like, you can literally throw them out. I meant to leave those in the car. I'm so sorry. But all of the bands that I wanted to see this day were at the main stage. So I just parked myself in my little usual spot and just hung out there for the rest of the day. And it was really interesting because there was like a group that had kind of accumulated in the same section that were in kind of similar situations that I was. It was just like a corner of people who were there just like to listen to the music, but wanted to kind of chill out and not get too crazy. One person was handing out like these little tiny glass frogs, which I did such a good job of keeping track of, but I think I lost it when I moved, which is kind of a bummer. Maybe it'll show up again sometime. I don't know. Someone else was giving out friendship bracelets. That person actually lives like in the next town over, and she said that she always goes to these Danny Wimmer Presents events. I don't know if I'll ever run into her again, but we swapped phone numbers. But okay, back to the music. So the first band that I saw was Dropkick Murphys. I only know like that one song. But I think a lot of people were in the same boat. But it was still so much fun. Like, what a fun band. And people were like up and like dancing a little jig. I never thought that I would be at a metal music festival and see someone on stage with an accordion, but let me tell you, it was an experience. And then I stuck around for Parkway Drive, which had so much pyro. Like, it was shocking how much fire was on that stage the entire time. I don't know how they didn't just like burn to a crisp. It was already so hot outside, and then they had all that fire on stage. Crazy. I didn't know that they were from Australia, so when they started talking, I was shocked. And then Bad Omens came on, whom objectively I recognize is a great band. Definitely not my vibe though. So I ended up going to like a little shaded area and then grabbing some water and kind of recovering because I was like losing steam fast. But I had to make it to the end of the day because the last band of the weekend was Shinedown, who is my favorite band of all time. So it really means a lot when I have the opportunity to see them live.
We're united. And sometimes it's just as simple as a symptom of being human.
I will say that there was like an extreme amount of crowd surfing though, like even during some of like the ballads, and being that close to the stage, your hands are just like always like above your head and you're always just like looking around for like bodies coming at your head. Like there was one point where I think it was like 3 people had kind of collided over me and then I was falling under them and there was somebody under me. It was like 6 layers of people like falling and trying to get up. It was really intense. And we were so tightly packed in there and I was just so like exhausted and dehydrated at this point. My fight or flight was on like full blast. Apparently they had set some kind of record for the number of ticket sales for that day, which was very evident. There was a lot of people. I honestly think that they shouldn't have that many tickets to sell because there are too many people, but that's just my opinion. But I mean, it was still an incredible show. It was still my favorite band. Just overall, an incredible weekend. I don't know when I'm going to be going again. I didn't get tickets for 2025, so I'm so happy to have these memories on paper so that I can keep it in my planner. But it wasn't the only rock music festival that I went to in 2024. If you're interested in seeing what my experience was like at Sonic Temple, click on this video here.